Part 5 of The Jinx, Robert Durst. So 20 years after Robert's wife Kathy disappeared, the police started looking into it again because they had some new clues. And one of the things that they did was they re-interviewed everyone that they interviewed 20 years before. And a singular name kept on coming up that the police needed to interview. Robert Durst's best friend, Susan Berman. Robert and Susan met at UCLA, and Susan came from a similar background to Robert. She was from a wealthy family in Las Vegas, and both of her parents had passed. Susan's father was a notorious mobster named David Berman, and Susan didn't understand that her father was a mobster until college when she was reading a book about the mob. He was essentially running the Las Vegas faction of the mob, and it was all tied into the casinos, which is why many of her friends thought that Bob Durst was appealing to her. He had money, he had some criminal activity surrounding him, and it seemed he could get away with almost anything. Susan Berman was a writer, so she was used to dealing with the press, and when Robert Durst's wife, Kathy, went missing, Susan became Robert's unofficial spokesperson. She dealt with the press, she answered questions for him, and she really just shielded him from them. One strange thing investigators found was that there were collect calls placed from a place called Ship Bottom, New Jersey, right around the time of Kathy's disappearance, and Ship Bottom was a notorious place where mobsters would have bodies hidden. And Robert Durst, other than his father, was the only person that would place collect calls to the Durst organization. And there was this random call from a laundromat in Ship Bottom, New Jersey. Susan Berman let Robert Durst know that the police had contacted her and she was going to speak with them. They wanted to know about Kathy. And shortly thereafter, guess who was found unalived? Susan Berman. And because she was a writer and wrote about the mob, the police initially didn't suspect it had anything to do with Robert Durst. And then the police got this letter, Beverly Hills Police. Beverly was spelled wrong. And then it said Susan's address and the word cadaver. Because one would think that, somebody that once cared about the person that they unalived might do something like this. And this would end up making Bob Durst look incredibly, incredibly guilty. After Susan's passing, Robert didn't go to her funeral, even though he was in Los Angeles and was her best friend. But he did call many of her friends and family members trying to find allies. He sidled up to her stepson, who was obviously bereft and also a young person starting out, and offered to pay for his college.
You that there were people that suspected you of having...
Oh, sure. I mean, because she was my spokesman. All of a sudden, she's dead right after Janine Pirro's doing the investigation of me. I shut her